Parents, we wish to advise that because of possible harmful elements, certain portions of the following program may not be suitable for young children.
3 men bury a screaming baby in the mud of a torrential storm. When found, the baby displays grotesque and unbelievable deformities.
The agents are called to the small town of Home, Pennsylvania, to investigate who would bury a child alive and just what happened to it.
This is not happening.
The Peacocks built that farm during the Civil War. Still has no electricity, no running water, no heat. They grow their own food. They raise their own pigs. They breed their own cows. Raise and breed their own stock, if you get my meaning.
It is, however, the closest residence to the crime scene.
Those boys are feeble, Agent Scully, and sad. They wouldn't have any idea what you were talking about.
Oh, they could have witnessed.
Look, this town is my home. I love it. It's quiet, peaceful. I don't even wear a gun. I've seen and heard some of the sick and horrible things that go on outside my home. At the same time, I knew we couldn't stay hidden forever. And one day the modern world would find us and my hometown would change forever. And when I saw it in the ground, I knew that day had come.
Andrew, we are here with the official start of season 4. How are you this evening?
Wow. I've been waiting for season 4 for 6 months. It's been so great, and I'm glad they started with Home.
Banger of an opener, and whew.
Deja vu. I feel like
so.
we've used this gag before.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, this one is directed. Who is this directed by? Shit.
It's Kim Manners. I'm glad you asked.
Directed by Kim Manners, written by Wong and Morgan.
And Glenn Morgan.
They're back.
Interesting that I thought they were done.
They came back.
I forgot they came back. But things not going well for them with Space Above Beyond?
No.
Only 1 or 2 seasons with that show, I think.
They were brought back, and this is what they came back with. They were eager to get offensive and disgusting. But it's very much appreciated because this is an excellent episode.
It is amazing in the risks they were willing to take. And frankly, what they were willing to get away with.
I can't believe the studio let this happen. But that being said, I'm not bothered by it. I think it's just a disgusting story. I don't think America can't handle it. This is the only episode to be banned after its premiere date. So it will not be shown and has not been shown on television since.
Well, on Fox.
On Fox. It has gone on
other channels. Yeah. But Fox is like, oh no, this never
of
happened.
all things, this is what they don't like. So,
well, there are a couple of red flags that they really should have known better. But I don't know how you tell this story any other way.
Yeah. It's a lovely story, and I'm eager to get into it.
Well, let's go. Let's go home, Mike.
Let us go home. Join us, listeners, as we descend on Home, Pennsylvania for an all-American story.
An all-American story.
Tell you what, this will make you never want to visit the South.
It's not even the South. It's Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. All right. It's nighttime. A fierce storm rages. The camera centers on a decrepit house, yards strewn with lawn equipment and old cars as the rain drops in sheets. Inside, a woman screams in immense pain. The house is dark. No light other than the flashing lightning. Men are tending to the woman using extremely rudimentary tools, such as silverware. One of the men uses scissors to cut the umbilical cord as a baby squeals. The 3 men take the child outside into the rain. They trudge along far into a nearby field. One of them sticks a shovel in the mud and begins digging. Another, Edmund, stands off and wails in sadness as the 3rd man consoles him. The baby is placed in a fresh hole and then slowly covered back up with mud. Before he puts the last shovelful into the hole, he hesitates and splats it onto the ground and packs it in. From a distance, we can see the men standing, having finished the awful deed as the storm rages around them. That's a simple opening scene.
Yeah.
Andrew?
Yeah.
Yikes.
This is my literal first note is ooh. that birthing scene is
Yeah. That is disgustingly squelchy and squishy sound effects.
And the music tells us that nothing good is going to happen here.
Yeah.
It's so horrible. And the lightning stuff, like, it's really moodily done. I give it credit to that. But the glimpses you see of the three men show us right away that they are some messed up. Like, the deformities that you see on them are just pretty rude.
Mm-hmm. It is a disturbing scene.
It is a good word.
Takes off immediately.
Yep.
And we are left to ponder what the fuck is happening here.
Absolutely.
They just took a live baby and shoved it in the ground, and then credits. So we're off and running, ladies and gentlemen.
It's going to be a banger.
Coming back, a crude home plate plops onto the mud as a group of children are playing a pickup game of baseball. It's an oddly serious game between friends. The batter gets a strike and cries foul to the umpire, but is put in his place by the pitcher. He connects with the second ball, however, and it flies past the diamond. An outfielder runs after it, but it falls well past him near an old, decrepit house, the Peacock house from the opening scene. None of them are too interested in pursuing it, so they find another ball. The batter takes some mud and smears it on his palms and begins to dig his foot into the ground for the inevitable next pitch. As he grinds his foot into the mud, he notices it begins to kick up something red on his shoe. He backs away horrified just as the pitcher throws the ball. It rolls by on the ground. Suddenly, Mulder's hand picks up the ball.
Is it sudden, though?
It is sudden.
Okay.
Nice, cute little cut. Cute little cut.
Yeah.
It's now a crime scene, and the agents have been called to investigate. Mulder practices some pitching stances as he plays with the ball. Meanwhile, Scully is working. He clocks the Peacock residence nearby as the brothers are watching them. Scully begins to inform him of her finding.
Compression marks indicate the shovel blade to be approximately 6 3/4 inches. The angle of movement and deeper indentation on the right side of the mark suggests a left-handed individual. I've collected soil specimens, and although numerous shoe impressions remain from the sandlot game, I think a couple of dental stone casts will prove invaluable to the investigation. Meanwhile, I've quit the FBI and become a spokesperson for the ab roller.
Smell that. It's perfume. Eau de ball. God, this brings back a lot of memories. My sister, all-day pickup games out on the vineyard, ride your bikes down to the beach, eat bologna sandwiches. Only place you had to be on time was home for dinner. Never had to lock your doors, no modems, no faxes, no cell phones.
Well, if you had to do without a cell phone for 2 minutes, you'd lapse into catatonic schizophrenia.
Scully, you don't know me as well as you think you do. You know, my work demands that I live in a big city, but if I had to settle down, build a home, it'd be a place like this.
It'd be like living in Mayberry.
Agents Mulder and Scully?
I love the legend where we have just home show up in the bottom left, and then it continues on with home, Pennsylvania.
Yep.
Apparently, terms for home and den and residence and such are peppered through the script. So they really wanted to bring it home that's what this is about. And just as a side note, home, Pennsylvania, just a mere 22-minute drive north to Punxsutawney, home of the infamous gopher that will forecast the coming of spring.
I didn't know that.
I look at things. Yeah, I wasn't taken with Mulder's complete detachment from the crime. Like, given the nature of what they've discovered, I feel like essentially he's echoing the role of the Fox producers. It's like, yeah, it's a script about dead babies. Pff, come on.
Yeah, who cares?
Who really cares?
I'm not sure why they chose that. I know it's one of those things where they're injecting some levity into the episode just to keep it less disgusting or less bothersome in our brains. Mulder's a little detached. He's playing baseball in his head while Scully's working or whatever. It's just enough to keep us on the lighter side of things. But it is one of those things where, okay, why would he act like this when there's a dead baby in the ground?
Yeah.
I don't know if they're trying to tell us, like, because it comes up in a little bit here where he doesn't think they should be on the case.
Yes.
And he does, and we can get into it then, but he does show some emotion about it. But I guess that's maybe what they're trying to paint here. Like, we're not supposed to be here. It doesn't really concern us.
Well, I think
it's not about aliens, so I'm not interested.
Yeah, I think your point of them using this as a way to add levity, to reel back the seriousness factor of the show and say, hey, everybody, don't worry. This isn't going to be as gross as it's looking to be. We're going to have some fun here with this.
Yeah.
To try and balance it a little bit. I think that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
I think it's a miss. I mean, I think if you're going to go here, you go here because your opening is so horrifying. How do you not go there for the rest of the episode? So,
right.
A way that you can make it funnier is to add characters that look like they're right out of Mayberry, like having your sheriff named Andy Taylor. That's an option, right?
That's an option.
Yeah.
I'm Sheriff Andy Taylor.
For real?
Mulder is momentarily surprised by his name, considering Scully's comment. They make pleasantries and get to the case. Scully asks about suspects, but the population of home is just a few hundred, and everyone knows everyone. Surprisingly, Taylor says the two women in town who are pregnant are Mary Ellen and Nancy, both of whom are doing just fine. Mulder asks about the Peacock residents, and the sheriff goes quiet. When he says he guesses you could call them human, it kind of throws Scully. He doesn't know much about them now, but they were just boys when their parents were in a bad car wreck. They suppose the parents died, but because the boys hauled the bodies away before they could administer medical attention, they don't know. It's been 10 years. Scully asks if they've been questioned about this crime, and Sheriff Taylor explains that the house was built in the Civil War, no running water, they grow their own food, raise their own pigs, breed their own cows, raise and breed their own stock, if you get his meaning, Andrew.
Oh, what is he saying there?
They bang each other.
They bang, bang, bang each other, yeah.
Scully rightly points out it's the closest home to the crime scene, but Taylor pushes back. The men there are feeble, and they wouldn't know what you're talking about. He gets a little defensive, Andrew, but more in a wistful way. He goes on to say, this is my home, I love it. He knew they couldn't stay hidden from the real world too long, and when he found the baby in the ground, he knew the day everything would come crashing down has come. So he called the agents here because he wants to find the perpetrator, but doesn't want the way things are to change.
Mike, I'm going to guess that if they kept on digging in that field, they'd find more dead babies. So, like, that
is a minefield of dead babies.
You think your town is on the map for one dead baby? No. Gonna be on the map.
I have to say, this feels like the most unrealistic part. It never really sat well with me in the sense that this family would have been ostracized a long time ago.
I'm going to touch on that later, but you're onto something that I have an issue with. Yeah.
Yeah, they keep to themselves, but they are the first family that would have been suspected by small town America.
Oh, God, yeah.
The only thing... I shouldn't say it.
Okay. Then don't.
Okay, so everyone goes now to the police station. A refrigerator door opens, and sitting on a lunch tray is something wrapped in a bloody blanket. They don't have a morgue, but he has a small room for them to examine the body.
We call it the bathroom.
We call it the bathroom. His deputy comes in and Taylor introduces him, Barney, and Mulder makes a cute little quip about Andy Griffith. He brings them into the teeniest bathroom you've ever seen and places the tray on the sink. Scully asks for more room, but he doesn't want anyone to see, and he can't put them in the office and lock the door because, well, folks know I never lock the door.
That's so good. It's just like... But people would know.
It's cute. I love Tucker Smallwood in this role, but it's adorable. As Scully examines the body, she is horrified by its outward appearance.
Mulder, it looks as if this child has been afflicted by every rare birth defect known to science. I'm going to have to order DNA typing from the crime lab, but there appears to be abnormalities associated with New Laxova syndrome, Meckel-Gruber syndrome, estrophy of the cloaca. I mean, I don't even know where to begin.
I guess we can rule out murder as the cause of death, huh?
I don't know about that. There's evidence of occlusion due to dirt in the nose and mouth, indicating the dirt has been inhaled.
There's something rotten in Mayberry.
Imagine all a woman's hopes and dreams for her child, and then nature turns so cruel. What must a mother go through?
Apparently not much in this case if she just throw it out with the trash.
I guess I was just projecting on myself.
Why, is there a history of genetic abnormalities in your family?
No.
Well, just find yourself a man with a spotless genetic makeup and a really high tolerance for being second-guessed and start pumping out the little uber Scullys. Scully, that child inside is a tragedy. Some young parents, probably scared kids, disposed of an unwanted birth. And in a very certain sense, infanticide is involved, but this is not an FBI matter.
But from what I know about genetic defects, Mulder, it's unlikely that child is the result of a single polygenic mating.
We should let local authorities investigate that.
Those defects, Mulder, are autosomal dominant disorders. And from the degree, I'd say mutations that go back many generations.
Scully, Sheriff Taylor implied that the boys in that family were not really the type that could easily get dates.
But he also implied that they practiced inbreeding. Now, we all have a natural instinct to propagate.
Do we?
There are theories which pose that our bodies are simply vehicles for genes needing to replicate.
Yeah, but there's no sister. Mother's been dead for 10 years.
But if the instinct and the need is strong enough, they will answer it any way that they can. Now, a woman gave birth to that child, Mulder, and my guess is against her will.
This is an excellent scene between the agents. They spend a good deal of time discussing the case, pitching ideas, and countering, yet coming to a mutual agreement. It is a rare scene where we see Scully actually change Mulder's mind.
Yeah.
I like it because it does feel a little bit more realistic. They're going through options. They are discussing the ins and outs of what they know so far, and if they should even be involved. And Mulder does show, despite last week's episode, an uncharacteristic amount of empathy for his partner, and they can even joke a little bit. So,
well, it's required in this episode. Otherwise, it's so horrible. I would argue that this scene on the bench, there's a closeness here that rivals the scene on the rock from Quagmire.
Absolutely.
You know, and I'm surprised that it isn't referred to more often, especially when it talks to the themes of Scully being a mother.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they don't drive heavy into it. It comes up, but it's an interesting choice.
Yeah. I think it's a very good scene, and it's one that I wasn't really expecting in this episode.
Yeah.
But you could argue that because they were going so hard into something that is so disgusting that maybe they needed to push back on it themselves and deal with a little bit more seriousness between the agents. I don't know, but
yeah,
it's a good short scene and enjoyable. So.
Well, unfortunately, it also rolls into the trope that because it's a baby and because Scully's a woman, she has to have the maternal instinct.
Right.
The other option would be to have Mulder be all paternal, but it's a bit more
this
of a
is
reach.
the 90s, Andrew.
Yeah, he's made a stone.
You don't do that.
Yeah.
So the agents head off to the Peacock residence. They approach the house. It's quiet except for the nearby pigs. They look at a large white vehicle in the yard and continue up the front steps past a rotting pig head on the stairs.
Yeah.
When they knock on the door, they get no answer. Mulder shines his light inside to find a disgusting house. He spots some things, including the scissors used to cut the umbilical cord. The agents decide to enter the unlocked home and throw out a case against these people.
Well, they even talk about it because they go up to the door, they knock, and Mulder reaches for the door, and Scully actually says, probable cause. And that's when they look around, and then they find the blood and the tools. It's like, okay, there's your probable cause. No problem.
Good enough. Good enough. Scully draws her weapon. Mulder uses an evidence bag to collect the scissors, which are sitting in congealed blood.
Mm-hmm.
Bloody footprints can be found on the ground, and Scully compares it to the casting she got from the crime scene. A photo of it, ladies and gentlemen. She's not carrying around the casting. It's a match, just from quick visual.
Yeah.
It's a match. As they continue, they find a bloody shovel and make their determination. Guilty. Episode over.
Well, to their credit, like, congratulations, episode. You've done all of your investigation legwork in 30 seconds. And I actually like that they decide they don't need to do a whole cat and mouse thing of figuring out that these are the bad guys. The conundrum is not who. The conundrum is now how. Yeah. Because this is the age-old case of how do you prosecute monsters? You know, how do you bring a case against them? And that will be the focus of the next thrust of the episode. And I like that a lot. I think it's very smart.
Yeah. They knew they had to get to the interactions between the agents and these awful people.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
they needed to move the story along in that regard. So having them do the cat and mouse would be a little...
Yes.
They begin surmising that they bolted when they saw the agents coming, taking the suspected prisoner with them.
Mm-hmm.
Mulder's going to get Taylor to issue a countywide APB and to pull missing persons reports for the woman. As they leave the darkened back room, the camera is at their feet. It draws closer, past the agents and into blackness with a little sliver of light shining through. In the darkness, there are eyes, wide, heavy breathing.
It's a monster, Mike.
At Taylor's residence, on the phone with Scully, he catches her up. He's issued descriptions of George Sherman and Edmund Peacock. Scully inquires about the Cadillac in the front yard, maybe tied to a missing person, but he dismisses it. They get so many of those. They say their goodbyes as Mulder fiddles with the staticky television.
Again, caring so little for this case. It's like, I need to watch the basketball game.
I need to watch the next game.
Yeah.
Taylor sits down in his study and grabs a metal gun case. He opens it with reservation and checks the revolver inside. It looks brand new, unfired. Still has a tag on it. Comes with 6 starter bullets.
6 starter bullets.
Other purchase required.
I'm amazed that it's loaded. I would have thought that, you know, the bullets were in a separate box.
It's a little too prepared for Taylor.
Yeah. For what it is, right? It should have been
he doesn't even carry it, but it's loaded.
It should have been in a plastic wrap case, you know, with a hanger. The guy
Pretty
you can
much,
pull off a shelf. He has to find the X-Acto knife to cut open the plastic to get at the gun.
Yep. It says Hasbro on it.
It's right. My first police pistol.
My first police pistol. Okay, so the next few scenes are intercut with each other, framed by the Peacock brothers. So
I have to say, I do like that moment of him. Like, it's a perfect analog.
I like it.
For him deciding whether or not he's going to accept that violence and danger has come to his community.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, he knows it has, but he just can't bring himself, which is...
It's sad for him, and I feel for him.
Well, there's so much in there about human behavior, right? You can have the evidence presented to you, but yet you want something else so badly that you can...
You're blinded by your beliefs of what has been for so long. And that's a theme in the episode.
Well, and he doesn't lock his door, right? I mean, it's just so perfect. And of course, it's this night of all nights where all of those misbeliefs are going to come back to haunt him.
Yeah. The brothers head outside into the yard and throw some weapons into the Cadillac. Clubs, bats, and the like.
Mm-hmm.
One of them opens the gas can and sticks a hose in a nearby barrel. He begins siphoning gas out with his mouth to fill the car. In Mulder's hotel room, Scully and Mulder are in his hotel room. He is desperately trying to get a signal for his rabbit ear television so he can watch the Knicks game. She packs up to leave and heads towards the door. The signal improves barely, and he tells her to stay. She then notices the doorknob lock is broken. You don't have to lock your doors around here, he says, ominously. But then he takes a chair and puts it under the doorknob after she leaves.
And would it really stop somebody from smashing open the door?
I've never really tried it.
I've not done the physics on that, but I have a feeling that door
It probably would not
It would
be much of a barrier.
Yeah, it's going to stop somebody from squeaking open the door in a casual way, but I don't think it's going to stop anyone from like
No,
kicking it
especially
open.
not these guys.
And not that chair.
Yeah. The brothers head into the car. They start it, and the radio turns on. It's Wonderful, Wonderful by Johnny Mathis. The Cadillac moves out.
Although apparently it's being sung by another artist because
Right.
Johnny Mathis, curiously enough, did not want this, didn't want his version being used in the episode. Can you imagine?
How do you pitch that to him? So we have this. Here's the script.
But we're going to treat
This is
it
what's
really,
really
fun.
happening.
You know, it's going to be a fun
Yeah.
episode.
It's going to be fun. Your song is going to be playing during the murder of two poor people.
Very respectful, though. Very respectful.
Very respectful.
Yeah.
It's a wholesome scene, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Ironic.
Back at Taylor's residence, he sits on his porch, bothered. His wife comes to check on him, and he says he's just taking one good last look around. Oh, sweetie, stop being stupid.
Nothing ever happens here.
This is the most boring town of all. She asks him to come to bed, and he complies. She closes the door behind them. The camera pulls into the unlocked door. Peacock's drive, music blaring. Back at the hotel, Scully's fast asleep in her room while Mulder sits in his, watching a nature show. The overly corny and tinny voice of the announcer describes the predator's behavior, moving in to ensure the prey has been killed, circling it to let the others know it's okay to approach. Taylor can't sleep. He tosses. Quietly, the song approaches and gets louder. The chugging of an engine outside prompts Taylor to get out of bed and check the window. It's the Cadillac. Doors swung open, car still running. He tells his wife to hide under the bed. He's going for the gun. He heads downstairs quietly. Before he gets to his gun, he sees a figure at the front door. No time. Changing plans, he grabs a bat from the closet. He takes position behind the door to his bedroom. Clunking footsteps approach. Slowly, the door creaks open. When the figure presents itself, Taylor takes a heavy swing at his chest. With a loud yell, the man appears unaffected and pushes Taylor to the ground with ease. Still holding the bat, he sits up and attacks the man's legs, but to no avail. The figure kicks him over again just in time for his club-wielding brethren to arrive. All three go to town. Grunting and thick thuds paint a horrific scene for our ears as blood splats on the floor, all while the wife watches him from under the bed. When the attack is over, the brothers prepare to leave, but one of them smells something, sniffs the air. She is startled when her husband's blood touches her fingers and lets out a hushed whimper, but unfortunately, she's heard. With another bellow, one of the men flips over the bed and they attack her. From outside, the camera pulls away as the Mathis song continues on the radio. We see the Peacocks leave the residence and get back into the car and drive off.
My note, fucking brutal. I mean, that's the scene right there where the censors would have gone, I have a note.
This is, I don't want to say typical, but this is Morgan and Wong 101. This is the kind of scene that they live for. They do this again later in the series, even in the reboot or whatever. They kind of frame these horrific scenes in songs that are otherwise jovial and happy, and it makes the scene even more eerie and creepy because
definitely.
there's such the disconnect. Yeah, a disconnect of what's actually happening on screen. So it's a rough one to watch, and you can definitely feel it.
I like the callback. I like as you say, there's an art at work in the construction of this scene that makes it particularly effective. And the items in no particular order. Mrs. Taylor going under the bed to hide. Mm-hmm. That's a callback to Mrs. Peacock under the bed. Yeah, such a smart connection.
Absolutely.
The locking of the door, it is so classic of the wrong decisions made and wishing you like knowing now what you wish you'd known then, and making different decisions. Just completely telling a story in one moment of visual, right? Like the unlocked door and not having the gun. I'm going to go for the gun. Just those elements right there. It's like that would have changed everything about what's happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
Mrs. Taylor hiding under the bed as her husband's beaten to death. Such a brutal moment, and his blood pouring and getting closer and closer to him. Just the shock and grief of it. Like, not only is your husband's dead,
you watched him be murdered.
You watched him be murdered, and his lifeblood is now coming towards you. And you know when it touches you, you're going to make a noise, and it's going to get you killed too. So, in the sense, your husband is killing you. It's just atrocious. And all to the tune of Wonderful, Wonderful. It's just like the cherry on top. But it even then, it made me ask, why are the Peacock boys engaging in this murder specifically? And I like that later on, Scully's going to ask the same question.
Call attention to it, yeah.
So again, you know me, I love it when the characters ask questions I am thinking. And I'll have some thoughts then. But I wonder if they even know where the sheriff lives. You know,
how often do these guys get out into town? I mean, it's suggested, 10 years ago they were probably closer to town when their parents were in a car wreck, but
maybe
you never know.
Well, they play fast and loose with the psychology of these characters. Like, on the one hand, they're animals, but on the other hand, they have life skills. Like, they can drive, they can, people husband when it comes time to deliver a baby. They know how to use doors. They know how to make traps. They know how to raise pigs. So they got skills. They're just not good people.
Yeah. We crossfade now to Pastor holding a cigarette between his fingers, shaken. He sits on the steps in front of Taylor's home, waiting for the agents. When they arrive, Mulder notes the big American tracks in the mud. Pastor stopped over to give them reports, and he found the Taylors dead inside. He struggles to get the words out. The scene inside, too gruesome for him. The owner of the car was found and contacted in Baltimore. Apparently she ran out of gas and left it on the 119. I don't know who does that, Andrew. Can I just say that?
You never come back for your car?
I've never run out of gas, but if I did, I'd love to just be like, screw it.
I'm going to get a new car.
Just leave it. I'll get a new car. Screw the loan.
Yeah.
He hands Scully an envelope of medical results. Inside, the agents look at the scene. It's unbelievable. Barely anything resembling a cranium, a massive chest cavity. Scully examines the results and is displeased as Mulder takes in the primitive, predatory assault.
Damn it. The lab screwed up the DNA test on the infant. Multiple maldistribution, chromosomal breakage, maldivision of the centromere.
You suspected these abnormalities.
Yeah, but this shows far too many gene imbalances. It would have to be a lab error. His child's cells would have had to divide triple-fold in cell metaphase.
Triple? Hey, Scully, what if each of the Peacock brothers was the father of that child?
Mulder, only one sperm in thousands from a single individual can penetrate an ovum membrane, let alone from 3 separate males.
What if generations of autosomal breeding could produce such a mutation?
No, for that to even be remotely possible, there'd have to be a weakening of the ovum, and that would have to come from a female member of the Peacock family, and there aren't any left.
Well, in any case, they haven't ventured too far from home. We should request backups from Pittsburgh and go pick them up.
Mulder, that would take a whole day. I think they may have a woman captive up there who may have sustained life-threatening injuries while giving birth. Who knows what those men have done to her? I think that we should go up there right now.
Yeah, but we're outnumbered. We could further endanger the victim by doing that.
I'll take you out there. And it's 3 against 3. This should give us the advantage.
Oh, that was just a little bit too Chuck Bronson for me, Scully.
So now we have a Mulder theory, Andrew. And it is
time for a superpower.
Quite the theory. His theory makes it even more disgusting.
Yeah.
But he's suggesting that each of the Peacocks is the father of this baby.
Would you like to just say what that means?
Well, it means... I don't even know how that would work.
They take turns.
They take turns really fast.
Yeah.
I don't know. But the agents are now steeled to approach the home, and Pastor's determination is adorable. I love how when he holds up his gun, the agent's eyes move from him to the gun in like a, are you sure you know how to use that?
Oh, that's going to solve the problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that they even discuss getting back up. Like, it's such an obvious, they've known since they walked into the Peacock household, oh, these are our guys. So, they go to pro forma, let's get an arrest warrant. And now it should be, let's call in the National Guard. Like, come on, this is a Jonestown compound situation here.
Yeah.
But Scully's like, there's no time. And to her credit, she's probably right. So yeah, it does land on you guys to do this. And it's here that we have Scully asking why the Peacock boys would even attack the sheriff. And, there's no way they'd know that there's an arrest warrant out for them because they don't even have a phone. They don't know anybody here. There's so much good plot work at this point. And it just shows Morgan Wong having attention to detail for how this would play out. And I like how they're peeling back the layers for this procedural. It's very good.
Yeah, and it really calls attention back to those eyes. We know they're there, but the agents have no clue as to how this word of the sheriff being involved would have gotten to the Peacocks, why they would even target him. So,
well, I mean, I would contend that it's not even connected. That there's another operating theory at work, and I talk about it later, I think. So maybe I won't talk about it here.
All right. At the Peacock residence, it's dark.
There's going to be a lot of ooze coming up here. This is just the scene. Ugh.
The house is lit by candles. The eyes beckon from the shadows. I'm hungry. One of the brothers takes a hunk of dried bread from the table and bites into it, chewing it. He walks over to the eyes, bends over, and retches into her mouth like a mother bird feeding its young.
This was not necessary. It really wasn't.
After a moment, the eyes say they're ready, and at this moment, the men drop their pants and clothes. Examining them, the voice says they look fine, and they'll be coming, and we knew this day was going to happen when they try to change the way things are. It's the inbred Neanderthal approach to King Theoden's Riders of Rohan's speech. She steals them to be ready. This is our home. This is the way it's going to stay. The brothers dress again and head outside.
I just thank our lucky stars that it didn't have a moment of fade to black as they walk towards mom and get down on all fours, and the implication being time to make another inbred baby.
Time to bake another one.
They don't go there, which then begs the question, well, why did they drop their clothes?
Why did they disrobe?
Yeah.
Mom is a creep.
Mom's a creep. Yeah, this is our daily ritual. I look at your naked bodies, and then
you know what? I don't even blame the brothers at this point.
They've got a good defense in their hands.
They do. She fucked us up from the beginning, man.
Yeah, we were messed up in all sorts of ways. I do love the parallel between Mrs. Peacock talking about how things are going to change. Some things shouldn't change.
Yep.
It's going to happen. It's, again, smart script writing where they're paralleling Taylor's speech and her speech.
It begs not the question, but it shines a light on the different ways people see things.
Absolutely.
This is the way things are, but the way things are completely different for two sets of people. So,
but Mike, what I really want to talk about is bread.
That bread was a little too fluffy.
One of my pandemic things was learning how to make bread at home, and
for the love of God,
not gonna say
just kidding.
Great, I'm pretty good at it, and so you only need 4 things technically to make great tasting bread. Everybody, You need flour, you need yeast, you need water, and you need salt. Technically, don't even need salt, but not really tasty without it. It's not super easy to make. You need flour and yeast, which are not really things you can make with these folks' level of technology. I mean, yeast maybe, but flour, like you need grain and you need a mill to make your own flour. Right. And I don't see that happening here. So there's a little plot area where maybe they've stolen bread or somebody's given them bread.
How do you know it's not pig bread?
Well, you do have me there.
I'm pretty sure you can get it from pigs.
You sure can.
They have plenty of those. They have plenty of those, Andrew.
Yeah. So bread could have been a different food. Would have been okay with that. It's a very small thing.
Yeah.
All that to say, thank God it didn't turn into an orgy.
Yes. Outside of the Peacock residence, the agents arrive with Pastor and watch from a distance. Scully peers with binoculars, and Pastor puts on his vest. He warns the agents they've used muskets before and vows not to be taken out by some antique. He heads towards the front door, gun drawn, and the agents hang back as support.
I need to bust in at this point and say, Mike, they have an actual plan.
That's true.
This is like, how many episodes have I bitched about the fact that they're like, there's a monster in the woods. Well, let's go find it. And
let's
then
go find it with pistols and no
they
water.
March out there with, a net maybe, but they have no plan. They're just like, let's go find it. And then what? You're going to shoot it, I guess? But here they've got Kevlar vests. They've all got little walkie-talkie comms. They've got a plan of what they're going to do. Like, I think that Morgan and Wong have taken their experience writing for Space Above and Beyond and they're like, military precision, people. That's what we're going to have here.
Of all the things you can learn from that show.
Yeah, exactly. And to the point of, I've seen them firing muskets. If it's Civil War is kind of what they're suggesting the technology is in this house. These are probably percussion rifles, maybe 45 caliber. And they would probably still punch through basic Kevlar armor.
Mm-hmm.
But they might not. So it's a good idea. Kevlar armor, not so good against clubs.
Better to be safe than sorry.
Well, why not? What's it going to do? Slow you down? And, okay, more to the point of, I guess I'm not done here. I'm seeing, wait, I got more notes. The point of these people are clearly ostracized from the greater community of home Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
Like the kids won't go near that place. Everybody knows they're feeble and inbred. Where are the dozens of townspeople with torches?
Exactly. That was my point.
They're not going to get backup. I know that the plot point is, well, we got to go now. We can't afford to wait. There's going to be a dozen people lining up with hunting rifles saying, oh, they've always been a problem. Now's our chance.
Yeah.
And frankly, this assault plan they come up with is total trash. Why is Barney Pastor going in on his own while they watch from a safe distance, other than he's an expendable redshirt?
Yeah, he's just expendable, and they try to paint it as he's blind by revenge or something.
They do.
So, I mean, it works, but
does.
yeah, it's like, come on, guys, help out.
Like, this, he's dead. From the moment he starts walking up there, it's like, this is never going to work.
He's charging in. There's not a chance he's coming out of this alive.
Exactly. All right, I'm done. You may continue.
The brothers enter the residence, and the screen door slaps behind them. Pastor takes cover by a car and begins moving in. As he slowly enters the residence, pushing the door open, Scully spies with her binoculars. There's no movement. It's quiet. Suddenly, from a distance, she spots something, a contraption above the door. She calls to him over the radio, but before he can respond, an axe trap discharges and beheads him.
Does it behead him? Do we see that?
I don't think so, but it definitely sticks in the door, so I have to assume
it went through.
Clear through.
Yeah. At which point, why are the brothers descending on his headless corpse? But
they're gonna eat him, I guess. I don't know.
I suppose
they are animals.
Yeah.
She informs Mulder of Pastor's untimely demise, and he recites word for word the commentary from the documentary he was watching. We're witnessing undiluted animal behavior. He hatches a plan to divert them out of the house to avoid traps for the time being. They head to the pig pen and try to get them to stampede out of the pen, but to no avail. Scully attempts her babe sheep call, a very popular reference for the time, Andrew.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's a funny little scene because the agents take this opportunity to have some banter as they try to do this.
I gotta say, that whole thing struck me the wrong way. And Pastor has just been decapitated and brutally...
They have no regard for their surroundings.
Like, the first thing the script has Mulder do after Pastor's decapitated is recite the lines from a nature documentary. This
is of no consequence, Andrew.
We never liked Pastor anyway, I guess.
He was overzealous. He was in the way.
I mean, come on. What episode are you making? Like, I think they made the wrong choice by going comic in this.
Yeah.
Like, because so much of it is so brutal, and you just can't paint over that. I think that's the big problem with this episode is, and why it is, it gets banned afterwards. Is it's like, no, have a bit more decency. This is law enforcement getting fucking decapitated. You can't just fly by that with a one-liner, but yet they do. And then they have this comic thing with Babe and trying to get the pigs out again immediately after this guy's been dead. Sure, but couldn't you have come up with this plan before Barney got decapped? I got issues there.
Yeah, I understand.
I mean, I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to inject levity so that people don't get freaked out. I just think it's the wrong choice. Freak people out. It's what you built.
Freak people out, yeah. And that could be a production thing. Maybe the producers are like, we need some humor here. Because this episode is disgusting.
Read the room, people. This is not your moment.
Right.
Yeah.
The agents are surprised by one of the peacocks heading out of the back door to get some water, who then notices the pigs are escaping. He rushes inside to get his brother as the agents hide. The men try to herd the pigs, but they disappear into the tree line. It's here the agents take the opportunity to move in. Mulder pushes open the back door, this time with a wooden board.
Ooh.
It releases a spear trap that pins the board to the door. Quickly second-guessing their decision, they draw their weapons and enter anyway.
I don't think this is even a good plan either, because
they're realizing this house is rigged, but this is their one chance, I guess. They feel like they can't go regroup.
Yeah. I mean, you've already lost one.
Yeah. Within minutes.
Yeah. It's like, you think this is going to get better? Like, what are you doing? Sure, there's probably a hostage inside, but, it becomes a case of balancing your wins and losses. And I'm sorry, but if you all die in the attempt, what have you really done? And now you've got these brothers outside at your back. And you're still in a house full of booby traps. I don't think their situation's gotten any better with this plan.
No. They are taking their lives in their hands in this particular episode.
Yeah.
I guess you could say they always do, but this one does feel a little bit more risky.
It feels forced, and it doesn't really make sense with what we know of their intelligence. But I get that that's where they want the episode to go, so let's go.
This is one of the more dangerous situations I think they put themselves in, because the house, not only is it booby trapped, but there's only so many ways out. So they have 3 dangerous individuals that, should they come back, are going to cause a lot of problems. So this is a rough one for them.
See, I don't understand why they didn't use the pig distraction to take the guys outside. You've brought them outside of their defensible location, and they're out in the open in the sunlight, easy to spot. Now you can just gun them down from a distance. But
I think the problem is they, for whatever reason, they need the agents, obviously because it's a TV show, they need the agents to solve the mystery.
Yes.
What anyone else would do in law enforcement, I think, is barricade the house.
And burn it down to the ground.
Well, yeah, ideally. But they would probably observe the location, set up a perimeter, and let reinforcements come in.
Oh, yeah. And we've already discussed that they have discussed the time factor of it, right? That to the episode's credit, they do explain it and discard it of why they can't call for backup. But
here's the thing. They can call for backup.
Yeah.
There is no time limit. These guys aren't going anywhere. They just are, they're manufacturing a time limit because they think there is a prisoner inside. So in that sense, I understand why they're moving in.
Yeah.
I guess is my counter to what your issue is.
Oh, no, I understand it too. I just don't like it.
Yeah, no, I got you.
It's just, they're smarter than that, especially when they lose one. That should be the case of, oh no, we've made a mistake. We've got to back up and rethink this, not get deeper into the problem. But that's the turning it up to 11 problem that the X-Files often has of, we're committed and we can't do the sensible thing. We've got to do the wacky, risky thing. Mm-hmm. And fine, that's fine. You don't have that. You don't have a TV show, right? So I'm okay with that. I just, in the light of sometimes this show makes sense and makes reasonable choices, this is not one.
Well, the agents head down the hall slowly, and Mulder kicks in a door. He looks down to find something truly disturbing. And just to needle Andrew a little bit more, he grabs it, holds it up. It's a paper. Elvis dead at 42.
Oh, my God.
They hear squeaking and clattering further into the house and move on. When they enter the room, Scully notes photos on shelving and dressers, even some tacked to the wall. The faces of disfigured men and women from years past. Mark Snow's dark piano plays a melody of disturbing discovery. Mulder notes tracks on the floor leading under the bed.
I should say at this point, I like that they're telling the story without words here. They're showing, not telling. With the photographs, you learn everything you need to know. Like, this is a legacy.
It's
particularly unsettling, but it's a very nice touch of the mystery is coming together. We're circling for a landing here.
Yeah. And then it's about to be revealed. Immediately when Mulder kneels down. Here we go. Here we go. The mom starts screaming bloody murder. The agents cannot console her at all, despite their best attempts to tell her she's safe. She insists on hollering for help. They wheel her out, and the camera lingers above, showing us amputated arms and legs as she writhes in fear. Mulder tells her they're going to take her home, and as he does so, Scully is piecing the photos together. She already is home. This is Mrs. Peacock, and we can see on Mulder's face, his stomach immediately drops. The agents rise to their feet, and with a look of intense concern and disgust, take in the new development. Yuck, Andrew.
Oh, I got a fourth ew right here.
This is the moment everyone probably threw up watching this live.
A little bit, yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you have not been paying attention, Mrs. Peacock is banging her sons to continue their lineage and create their own disgusting family.
So I guess what's happening here is the baby comes out, they take a look at it, it does not pass QA, and it's time to fill it out. All this could have been avoided if they just buried it under the house like any reasonable.
Right, go to the cellar. How do you not have a cellar?
Maybe it's filled up. They got to go next door.
That is a lot of dead babies.
Yeah.
Okay. So Mulder goes to check on the brothers, fearing they heard her screams. Scully's concerned about the mom. Mulder thinks she's aided and abetted at least in these crimes, and Scully notes that Edmund is the brother and father of the other two. Mulder asks Scully to tell the mom they're bringing them in. Convince her she's the only way any of them can get out of this without her boys getting hurt.
I love that they're discussing the legal ramifications of the case.
Right.
It's like,
it's a little late for that.
It is a theme they love to go back to, which is, again, how do you prosecute monsters? But boy.
Yeah, but you know what? There is a level of intelligence that they could easily prosecute.
Yeah, absolutely. They're pretty cut and dry, though, in terms of the way this one pans out. And
These guys are getting the chair.
Is it this point where we have the zoom in on the tripwire when she's going back to that?
When she goes back to the hall, we get the camera pans down and we see a trap waiting in the distance.
Very nice. That old adage of if there's a gun on the wall, it's going to get shot. You know, they show us the gimmick. That's very good.
She heads back to Mrs. Peacock and pleads for her to help.
Mrs. Peacock, you are in immediate need of medical attention. Agent Mulder and I are here to help you.
This is our home. Why leave it?
Whatever pain you may feel...
Don't feel pain. Runs in the family. Have to check the boys, see if they hurt themselves.
What about you, even after the accident?
Right arm was torn off. Saw it sitting there across my dead husband's lap. Boys took me home. Sewed me up just like the family learned in the War of Northern Aggression. Whole time felt scenes as if been making breakfast. such good boys.
Mrs. Peacock, they murdered Sheriff Taylor and his wife, and Deputy Pastor.
I can tell you don't have no children. Maybe one day you'll learn the pride, the love. When you know your boy will do anything for his mother.
She tells the story of how after the accident, the boys stitched her up just like the family learnt in the War of Northern Aggression. They're such good boys. Even though Scully tells her they've murdered people, Mrs. Peacock is unmoved. I can tell you don't have no children. Ugh.
All right, fine. Good work episode for hammering home on the motherhood theme.
This is basically just her saying, once you're a mom, you have a level of dedication that you'll let them do anything.
I'm surprised Scully didn't hit back with, hey, I had Emily.
She doesn't know that yet.
Oh, is that a season 5 thing?
That's season 5.
Oh, damn it.
Spoiler alert. No.
Yeah, not like we haven't already covered it. Do we learn at this point that the peacocks don't feel pain?
No, she says that, but I don't think it's meant to say they don't feel pain. I think she's just...
No, she totally says it. She says
callous. She says it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's literal.
Well, but that explains why, Taylor can batter these guys with a baseball bat. Mulder can shoot them up a whole bunch, and they don't seem to...
I think there's some element to animal strength, for sure, and resilience. I don't think she literally means they can't feel pain.
Well, certainly she seems to feel pain when she's giving birth, so...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So screw you, Peacock, and your lies.
I know what you're saying, but
yeah,
I think it's more metaphorical or pig-headedness, I guess you could say, but...
It's worth...
Don't feel pain.
It's worth noting that Scully, when she tells Mrs. Peacock that her boys have killed 3 people, she goes on this little rant about how, you're so proud of your kids knowing that they're going to do it. They'll do anything for you. But it feels like it's trying to be an explanation for why the boys attacked the Taylors, but it isn't.
They did it for her, supposedly, because she overheard the agents talking.
But they don't mention Taylor. They don't mention the sheriff.
Yeah, they do.
They do?
They mention going to set up an APB or whatever.
Right.
Like, they immediately suspect the Peacocks of guilt while they're in the house still. I don't know that they go into a whole lot of detail, but they do mention something. So that's kind of how the word got back to the Peacock brothers.
Yeah.
Outside, Mulder notices a development. The brothers are investigating tracks in the yard, and they begin sniffing. Now they know someone's here.
Mm-hmm.
He calls for Scully and slams a table against the door. He warns them with a gunshot as one tries to get in. Scully then fires a shot behind Mulder, hitting one wielding a chair. Mulder turns back to the door and is immediately tackled. The youngest brother finally breaks through the door and onto the table to Scully's surprise. They both descend on Mulder and manage to pry his gun away from him, but Scully shoots before they can use it. She unloads into the man, but to no avail. Mulder breaks free from the youngest. Without many options, Scully watches as Mulder fights them off in a losing battle. She yells she has the mother to get their attention and begins down the hall. This gets the youngest's attention, and they chase. Mulder reaches for his gun and manages to kill the attacker as the youngest pursues Scully. He takes one big swipe at her with his weapon, but she dodges and he falls onto his own trap, killing him instantly. Mulder asks where Edmund is, but there's no answer. They enter the bedroom to find the cart with Mrs. Peacock missing. Outside a little while later, they wrap up. They're nowhere in the house. Scully gets off the phone with authorities. They're setting up a radius and roadblocks. In time, we'll catch them. But Mulder suggests time has already caught them.
Oh, very good episode. Very good. I want to circle back to the combat scene.
Okay.
Which is pretty great. I mean, anytime they have gunplay, they usually are quite good. It's well directed, well filmed. Yeah. I'm going to harp on Scully and her pistol and rounds in the magazine yet again.
Oh boy, here we go.
So we you review the scene and she fires 9 rounds. They are using in season 4 the Sig Sauer P228, which usually, Mike, contains a 15-round magazine. So I ask you, are there any other bodies here that have been dropped in home, Pennsylvania?
She put a few slugs into the baby.
Maybe. I mean, what's really incredible here is either she's got surprisingly poor marksmanship, or the fact the bullets seem to
The bullets just don't affect them, I think.
That must be.
More things I don't want to say, but I want to say.
Go for it.
What they're going for.
Well, they're going for their animals.
They're going for
impervious to pain.
Yeah.
They're motivated by, wanting to protect the mothers, so they will cross anything. But
good old mental deficient strength. I'll say that.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I won't go on and on about that, other than to say that, again, simply just having her fire more, or it could have been a jam. Could have been her pistol.
It could have been. Yeah, how do you not know that, Andrew? How do you assume she's fired all her bullets?
So, fun side story. I went for a trip down to Florida one time many years ago, and being Canadian, we don't have many guns around here. And I was like, there's a firing range down the way here. I'm gonna try this out, see what all the fuss is about. So I stopped in for a visit, and they gladly rented me, I think it was a Glock 17 or something.
With no paperwork.
No, I think they might have checked my driver's license. I don't know. Anyway,
Are you a man?
Could not care less. And I went out there to the range, and I popped off some rounds, and it was, it was as fun as you can imagine.
And you got a boner like you should, and you developed an eerily erotic relationship to guns.
Exactly. Except during my firing, my pistol jammed. Like the round misfired. It didn't eject properly. So it was sitting there, half out or whatever. And I was sitting there going, what does one do in this situation? Do I leave the gun here in the range, or do I bring it to somebody? Like, either way, I'm like, this is like a grenade I'm walking around with.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do with this? Anyway,
well, you inspect it barrel first. You stick your eye down the barrel to make sure it's actually there.
Yeah, exactly. You bang it on the floor, hit it on the wall.
It's got to come out.
Yeah, something's going to happen. Anyway, the dude looked at it, basically waved his hand over it with the skill, and it was good to shoot again. Yeah. My little side
Just
story.
kidding, ladies and gentlemen. Don't do that.
Don't do that. Always treat your weapons as potentially,
for all the morons out there, since we're talking about mentally stunted people in this episode, do not look down the barrel of a gun that's jammed.
Yeah.
They're getting sued because some moron did that.
So it could be that her gun jammed. It would be highly unlikely, though, because the Sig Sauer P228 is remarkably jam resistant. I think.
Well, that's it. Every time that happens from now on,
it's a jam. Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's a jam.
That's probably what it is. Yeah. Jam
it was
in
written
the gun.
into the script. Jam.
All right, move along. Let's finish it.
Okay, the final scene. It's night. Later that evening, the camera pulls into the large white Cadillac to the sound of Mrs. Peacock consoling Edmund about his brothers, but the car appears empty. Mathis is playing once more. She says you can't keep a peacock down. There'll be more. Yuck. One day there'll be more. She encourages him to find a new place to call home. The camera slowly circles to the trunk, and Edmund steps out and gets into the driver's seat and drives into the night. The ballad ends as we fade to credit.
Yuck.
Well, that's an episode.
Sure is.
That is an episode.
Shall we descend into final thoughts?
Yeah, lay it on me.
Well, there's a reason that Fox pulled this episode from syndication.
No.
There is so much that's offside here. It's amazing that it was even broadcast. What was going on in the fall of 1996 that the producers thought this wouldn't catch hell? I wrote the word ew at least 5 times in my notes, and if I'm doing that, surely the censors are too. I mean, the gross factor aside, there is a lot to like in this episode. I do love it when the characters ask the same questions I'm asking, except in this case, we don't really get an answer. Why did the Peacock boys kill the sheriff? There is an argument to be made that it's the base animal instinct equation, a pack showing dominance, which I think is where the episode was going. The plan to assault the Peacock household is good. And again, we have a great moment where Mulder is suggesting that maybe they should wait, which in retrospect, really good idea. But in a rural area like that, surely there's going to be at least a dozen hunters that they can call on. And if the Peacocks are the outcasts they're made out to be, there are easy prejudices to manipulate that you'd have a cast of willing deputies. So overall, a really nice return from Morgan and Wong, and it definitely sets season 4 off with a bang. Oh, wait, wasn't that supposed to be Heron Vogt doing that?
I see what you did there with bang.
Yeah.
Hey!
Yay.
Oh,
Mike, how about you?
I love it. I think it's a great episode, despite how disgusting it is. And it was just the perfect welcome home to Glenn Morgan. The episode overall has its moments of levity to make it more palatable to the casual viewer. The humorous references to Andy Griffith played on a couple different levels. Mm-hmm. The obvious being the humor, but the idea of a similar situation coming face to face with the most evil and horrifying situation of this episode, I think was kind of interesting. This is a much different story than Andy Griffith's little cute, quaint town. So
just slightly.
It's a disturbing story and a disturbing look at the idea of family and honor, things taken to the absolute extreme in this episode. It begs the question of what each of us would do for family and how far would we go. So, spoiler alert, not this far is my answer to that.
That's your answer to the question?
That's my answer to the question. And again, obviously, I like the parallels between how the Peacocks are acting for their home and how it's not wanting to change, and how Taylor is acting the same way. I think that's really strong. It's a disgusting approach to it, but it's very interesting if you back off and think about, well, yeah, two sets of people will view the same ideas extremely differently. So
and yet similarly. Like, I think that's what it does, is it humanizes the monster. Yeah. Which is perhaps the most horrifying thing, is you're going to be like, oh, I get it. It can't just be they're unknowable monsters. They are knowable monsters. They've clearly, the writers have clearly thought about what these characters' motivations would be, how they would exist in this world. Yeah, it's a solid episode. It's just really gross.
Yeah. But I think our listeners are aware of that. So it is one of the fan favorites, probably because it is so disgusting.
Yeah.
But it is well written, and you can't really argue that. There is a lot of competency here from two veteran writers. Mm-hmm. Their last episode was your personal favorite, Deanne Beaverlitz. And they know what they're doing, and they know how to paint a gruesome picture and make it as enjoyable as you can. Let's just put it that way. But
it's not perfect. I mean, I think that
it's not perfect.
There's some tonal problems. Mulder is written in a really weird way in some cases.
He's extremely empathetic on the bench. And in the rest of the episode, he's more like this wisecracking. Mm-hmm. He couldn't care less about where they are and what's happened around them.
Yeah. And I mean, the death of Barney Pastor is just, that's a bit of a plot crime for me. And
it's sad. I like Pastor.
I did too. I think he deserved a little better than that.
Nice little homage to Death Wish, a revenge tale. I liked that. That was Charles Bronson.
Yeah.
And I cannot exit this episode without calling attention to Karen Conoval, who plays Mrs. Peacock.
What a great performance.
My feet were fed to the fire in Clyde Bruckman when I was so happy to be doing that episode. I forgot to mention her, even though she was in my notes. Yes, she played the fortune teller at the beginning of Clyde Bruckman.
Yeah.
And she is a character actress who does a phenomenal job here and, well, everywhere. But she is so disfigured in this one that people had a hard time picturing her. And she is just absolutely perfect in this role.
Talk about wearing a mustache to obscure your return actor.
Yeah. She did great.
Yeah,
so
it was amazing.
Kudos to her. Gillian Anderson dates one of the Peacock brothers. I can't remember which one, but of all the people you could fall for,
an
episode where they look disgusting.
She has him
Do
wear the
disgusting
mask in the
things.
bedroom.
Yeah. Oh, please. Edmund. Well,
Here we go
Andrew,
home.
if you would like to say goodbye to the listeners, please do so.
I appreciate that we have all survived this episode together. Thanks for sticking with us, and we'll look forward to talking into your ear holes next time.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, please rate and review on your podcast app of choice. Andrew and I would be eternally grateful to you fine people for helping us expand and get the word out. Also, we've got a killer group on Facebook. Feel free to join in on the discussion at facebook.com/groups/thisisnothappeningpod and become an official member of the syndicate. We do polls and we have questions for every episode to give you guys the opportunity to chime in and possibly let your voice be heard on our recordings. And please join us on our new Twitter at tinhxfilespod, no dash, to stay up to date on everything, moment to moment. Thank you, and remember, don't stop swimming.